they enable to be possible by their courage, their integrity, and their just beautiful vision for a better America. I want to congratulate you, Mr. Chairman, on your election, re-election as chair. I want to congratulate Steny Hoyer on his re-election and Mr. Clive as House Democratic leader, House Democratic whip, Mr. Clyburn, and a new member of the leadership, the newest member of she's been a member of the leadership as vice chair of the caucus. Now she is Assistant Speaker Catherine Clark of Massachusetts. It was a beautifully contested race, a good, I think members were pleased. And that's what I want to talk about. I wish that you could have seen the nominations and the acceptance speeches, because then you could have seen the common thread, the unity of our caucus, the values and vision, the knowledge of our subjects, the strategic thinking. You hear me talk about that all the time, but all of it connected to the hopes and aspirations of America's working families. That is what unifies us. So I'm very honored. I was kind of emotional earlier because of some of the things that were said in nomination, but also listening to the other nominations as well, as to not only the vision, but the depth of commitment, the values of our caucus. So I'm thrilled, I'm excited, and I can't wait to be elected, working with a new president of the United States, Joe Biden, and Kamala Harris. I'm sure we all share that view. And now I'm pleased to yield to the distinguished House Democratic leader, Mr. Hoyer.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, and congratulations to you on your overwhelming renomination to be the Speaker of the House by the Democratic Caucus, which was based upon your performance over the years in leading us so effectively. I am very honored, of course, to be re-elected as Majority Leader of the Democratic Party, Majority Leader of the House of Representatives. 117th Congress will have the leadership you see in front of you on our side of the aisle, as well as some others to be elected next week, or excuse me, tomorrow. It will be a leadership team that I think will be as successful, frankly, as I think the leadership team in the 116th Congress was. We had a very, very successful term in the 116th Congress as leadership. The product that we produced did not pass the Senate for the most part, and that's to the detriment of the American people, to their health care, to their jobs, their wages, and the assistance they needed in confronting COVID-19, whether it was on the health side or on the economic side. We're not through the 116th Congress yet, however. And I'm very hopeful with the Speaker's leadership and hopefully with the cooperation of Senator McConnell and others that we will pass a COVID-19 relief bill prior to December 11th. I am very hopeful that we will pass an omnibus that will appropriate for all of the government to stay in operation without any kind of pause, with any kind of shutdown. So I am honored to have been reelected as Majority Leader. I am honored to serve with two people that I've known for a very, very long time. I mentioned in my opening speech that Nancy and I worked in Senator Brewster's office together in 1964. And that, you know, seeing as how each one of us has now attained the age of 52, that's an extraordinary experience. And I've known Jim Clyburn since the early 60s, when we were active not only in the civil rights movement, Jim much more than I, but also in the Young Democrats together. So we've worked together for a very long time. Hakeem Jeffries is a younger member, but a dynamic member, one of the best speakers in the country, and a person who has brought great unity to our caucus and great work ethic to our caucus. Interpreted means he overworks us. but he keeps us focused. And Catherine Clark, as the speaker indicated, she has been in the leadership. She's got a different hat on, but she's going to be in the room in the leadership, raising the kinds of issues that are critical to the American people. And Catherine, congratulations to you on your election. So I am pleased to look to the 117th Congress, but I'm focused on the 116th Congress. We need to get work done for the American people they need right now. And now I want to yield to the person who counts the votes. But much more than that, he gives us inspiration as a caucus. He gives us experience. He gives us history. He gives us a sense of purpose and of vision. The majority whip in this Congress, the majority whip in the next Congress, Jim Clyburn of South Carolina.
Thank you very much, Mr. Leader. Madam Speaker, thank you so much for your leadership and your continued service to this great country. Catherine, welcome to this particular table, and thank you for your leadership. Mr. Chairman, I often talk about the war that I have with myself over issues like running things. And I used to always say that the terms efficient and effective are always at war with each other. The more efficiency you have, sometimes the less effectiveness, the more effectiveness, the less efficiency. That's a rule. I want to say to you, Mr. Chairman, your meeting this morning was an exception to that rule. I don't think I've ever seen efficiency and effectiveness so closely aligned with each other, and congratulations for that. Stenny, thank you for your continued friendship, as you mentioned. With us, it goes back a long, long time. And I've enjoyed working here with you. To be the whip and have the benefit of the experience of the speaker who once served as whip, the leader who once served as whip, they go to bed praying for me pretty often. And I thank them for their prayers. I said when I accepted this re-election this morning that Lyndon Johnson, he started his career as a public school teacher in a little Mexican-American school down in Texas, talked about standing before a classroom and watching the children who you know have an uncertain future. That's the way I started my career. And I cannot tell you what it does to you to stand before a classroom and see a kid that you know has not had breakfast, trying to learn. That's the kind of challenge that we have today. And COVID-19 has exposed how serious that challenge is. We must, in this Congress, respond to the dreams and aspirations of the children and their families. And I am hopeful that we can work together within our caucus and reaching out across the aisle to get done what needs to be done for the American people. This is a very important, let's just say, journey towards a more perfect union. And I'm pleased to be a part of this leadership. And I'm looking forward to us getting some things done for the American people, and it's my great pleasure to now yield to the Assistant Speaker for the 117th Congress, Catherine Clark.
Thank you so much, Mr. Whip, and to Speaker Nancy Pelosi. Just so grateful to your leadership, your mentorship, and your friendship. And to Steny Hoyer, our majority leader, an incredible inspiration, someone who keeps our caucus so together. To you, Mr. Clyburn, we owe you our democratic republic, and we are so grateful for everything you do for this caucus. And to my partner, Chairman Hakeem Jeffries, it has been a pleasure to serve with you as your vice chair, and I am honored and humbled by the election today and to join the leadership team in this new role as Assistant Speaker. And I can tell you this about our caucus. We are the guardians of people's hopes and aspirations, and we are going to be the unified engine for change. We are going to see and help the American people with the pain they're suffering through the loss of life and livelihood from this pandemic and the racial and economic injustices that they are facing. This caucus is ready to serve, ready to lead, and I am humbled and grateful for everyone on this leadership team and to the caucus for my election to it. Thank you. And I yield back to our chairman.
Thank you, Madam Assistant Speaker. Any questions? We have time for a question or two.
I wanted to ask the speaker, can you talk a little bit about how you plan to unify the caucus after the election in which you lost seats and there's going to be a narrower majority now? How do you plan to govern moving forward? How can you ensure that you can pass meaningful legislation with just a few vote margin?
Let me first thank you for your question, but thank our colleagues for their leadership and their remarks. And one thing that we all agree on in our caucus and in this leadership and those who will be elected tomorrow is that elections are about the future. It's about the future. We can talk about our founders and the inspiration they are. We honor them. We can talk about our relationships and how they serve us well in our leadership roles. But the fact is, it's all looking forward, looking to the future. And our caucus is unified in that respect, looking to the future for America's working families. For the people, we will lower health care costs by lowering the cost of prescription drugs, preserving the pre-existing condition, benefit, and other benefits. For the people, we will increase paychecks by building the infrastructure in a green, resilient way. And for the people, we will have cleaner government. So we have had a tremendous amount of unity. The fact is to have fewer members, but the White House is a source of, we're sad to have lost the members we have. We're ready to go again. We're preparing for that. We have been preparing for that. Some of our colleagues are ready to go again. Some are thinking about it. So we just see the next election right on the horizon. But I want to remind, because I tried to win the House when I wasn't in the leadership, and then when I was, when the Republicans had a 6 or 7 vote majority. People forget that, like in a 4 or 6. You look at, do we have those figures? We'll make them known to you. So they make it look like this is historic. No, they had a smaller majority. Now, we don't know what our outcome will be. We're still in New York, Iowa, New York, Iowa, and California. So we'll see what that comes out to. But having the majority, having the holding the House and winning the White House is time, it is opportunity for us to work together with the president for the future. And having a president is a unifying, has an unifying impact as well, especially when he's a unifier like Joe Biden. So I'm excited about the prospect, and sometimes when there's a smaller number of people, see the urgency of listening to each other, respecting each other's voice, because we all have to go down the path mostly together.
Thank you.
Garrett?
Madam Speaker, my
Garrett?
question's for you.
Thank
At the
you.
start of this,
Excuse me, unless any of our other colleagues want to address.
Nancy, I would
Good question.
simply add, we have been united, we are united, and we'll be united going forward. If you look at this Congress, if you look at the votes, you will see a very unified vote.
That's good. I'm excited about it, yeah.
at the start of this Congress, there was a lot of discussion about possibly putting in place some kind of term limits for this leadership team. I'm curious if you anticipate that this coming Congress would be your last as Speaker.
Well, let me just say that when that conversation took place, there was a move to put limits on the leadership and the chairs of committees. It never came up, they never brought it up. They said they were going to do it, they didn't do it. But I said then, what I said then is whether it passes or not, I will abide by those limits that are there. Yes, sir.
So is that a sort of Sherman-esque kind of statement here? I mean, do you anticipate
No, it's
that?
not. It's the statement that I made. It's a statement that I made. And we are, listen, if my husband is listening, don't let me have to be more specific than that, because we never expected to have another term now. I consider this a gift. And I can't wait to be working with Joe Biden and preparing us for our transition into the future. So I don't want to undermine any leverage I may have, but I made the statement. Mr. Leader, you want, Mr. Chairman, anybody you want to acknowledge? You're presiding, so I didn't want to
Okay,
call
yeah.
on people.
Well,
you
let
don't know.
me just simply say we're focused on the future and all that needs to happen. And the speaker was elected with unbridled enthusiasm
It was great.
from the
I
House
have to
Democratic
say,
Caucus.
Says she modestly. Without any of those people who voted for me saying, is this your last term? But nonetheless.
Last question?
Last question.
Sorry, I know that Leader Hoyer touched on that you guys do have a lot to get done before the end of the 116th Congress. I wanted to know, when you guys are looking at a potential COVID relief bill, government funding, could you put those two things together, or do you anticipate
No.
that your talks with Secretary Mnuchin and Leader McConnell will start back up?
Well, let me just say this, because I appreciate your question. I see in one of the local metropolitan journals that we postponed doing a bill until after the election. Not at all. Our bill passed in the middle of May. Since then, people have died because the Republicans in the House and Senate would not sign up to crush the virus, would not honor our heroes, would not respect the needs of America's working families. So we have been there since the middle of November now, for a long time. And so when they said, oh, they were just trying to wait until after the election, no, we weren't, because every day people are dying and we need this to happen. So we're hoping, Chuck Schumer and I, you probably saw our letter that we sent to McConnell to say, we've got to get this done. And this article said I should have settled for a smaller deal. It wasn't a smaller deal. It was a deal that did not have crushing the virus, adequately honoring our heroes, adequately addressing the needs of America's working families. It wasn't a question of dollars. It was a question of what it would be spent on. While they hesitated to do anything for earned income tax credit, child tax credit to prevent poverty, they didn't hesitate to give $150 billion in tax breaks to the richest people in America. So we have our difference of opinion. But you would think that now nearly 250,000 people dying, over 11 million infected, that at least now with the prospect, the promise of a vaccine, they might want to implement some of the things that take us down that path. I don't know whether any of it would be part of the, we will pass an omnibus. We don't want a CR, and we're on a good path to do that. I would hope that they would want to do something similar with the coronavirus. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Have you heard back from McConnell on your letter?
Are you concerned about coronavirus in the Capitol?
We all are.
Yeah.